I can still recall the day when it all started, the day I received my first credit card. It felt like a rite of passage into adulthood, a shiny plastic rectangle that symbolized freedom and opportunity. I was 24, fresh out of college and ready to take on the world. That little card, with its enticing promise of financial independence, felt like a reward for all my hard work. The first purchase was modest, a pair of sneakers I had been eyeing for weeks. As I swiped the card, a rush of excitement surged through me. It was so easy, so effortless. I convinced myself that I would pay off the balance as soon as my next paycheck arrived. But that small purchase was just the beginning. Within a few months, I was using the card for everything: dinners out with friends, a new phone, even a weekend getaway. The balance began to creep up, but I told myself it was manageable. I was making decent money at my new job after all, and the minimum payments were laughably low. What I didn't realize was that those low minimum payments were a trap, designed to keep me on the hook for as long as possible. I ignored the warning signs, the increasing balance, the mounting interest charges. I told myself that everyone had credit card debt, that it was just a part of life. I didn't see the danger lurking behind that seemingly innocent piece of plastic. It wasn't until I received my first statement that the gravity of my situation began to sink in. I remember the moment vividly. I was sitting on my couch, surrounded by shopping bags from yet another impulsive spree, when I decided to check my balance online. As the page loaded, my heart skipped a beat. There it was, in stark black and white. A balance of $6,372.58. And below it, in smaller print, the interest charge for the month, $135.27. Panic set in. I had never owed anyone that much money before. How had I let it get so out of control? The numbers blurred as I stared at the screen, my mind racing. I had been so focused on enjoying my newfound financial freedom that I hadn't stopped to consider the consequences. Now the weight of that debt was crushing me, suffocating me. That night I barely slept. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind spiraling into a dark abyss of anxiety and fear. How was I going to pay this off? The interest alone was more than I could afford, let alone the principal. I was trapped, and there seemed to be no way out. The next morning, I resolved to take control of the situation. I spent hours researching online, reading articles, watching videos, and even attending a free financial seminar at the local community center. I learned about the dangers of compound interest, the pitfalls of only making minimum payments, and the importance of living within one's means. It was overwhelming. The more I learned, the more I realized just how deep in trouble I was. But giving up wasn't an option. I had to find a way out, and fast. One of the first steps I took was to create a budget. I tracked every penny I spent, from my morning coffee to my monthly rent. I quickly realized that I had been living far beyond my means. It was a harsh wake-up call, but it was exactly what I needed. I slashed my spending, cutting out all non-essential purchases. No more eating out, no more shopping sprees, no more weekends away. Every dollar I saved went straight toward paying off my credit card debt. But even with my newfound frugality, I knew it would take years to pay off the balance at the rate I was going. The interest charges were still eating away at my payments, making it feel like I was barely making a dent. I needed a more aggressive strategy. In my desperation, I started looking for quick fixes, ways to wipe out my debt in one fell swoop. I considered taking out a personal loan to pay off the credit card, but the interest rates weren't much better. I looked into debt consolidation services, but the fees were astronomical. So I even thought about taking on a second job, but the idea of working 80-hour weeks was soul-crushing. That's when I stumbled upon balance transfer offers. Some credit cards offered 0% interest on balance transfers for a limited time, usually 12 to 18 months. It seemed like the perfect solution, a way to stop the interest from piling up while I paid off the principal. I applied for a card with a 15-month 0% APR balance transfer offer and was approved. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. I transferred my entire balance to the new card, breathing a sigh of relief as the interest charges vanished. I set up a strict payment plan, determined to pay off the entire balance before the 0% APR period ended. But as the months went by, I found myself slipping back into old habits. The freedom of not having to worry about interest charges lulled me into a false sense of security. I started using my original credit card again, telling myself that I would pay off the balance in full each month. But the allure of easy credit was too strong, and before I knew it, I was right back where I started. only now I had 2 credit cards to worry about. The breaking point came one cold winter evening, almost a year after I had first started using credit cards. I was sitting at my kitchen table, surrounded by bills, my laptop open to my bank account, and a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. The balance on my new credit card had crept back up to $3,000, and the 0% APR period was about to end. The original card was back up to $2,000, and the interest charges were about to kick in again. I felt like a failure. Despite all my efforts, all my sacrifices, I was right back in the same position, if not worse, than I had been a year ago. The weight of the debt was unbearable, and the thought of paying hundreds of dollars in interest every month made me sick to my stomach. I broke down. Tears streamed down my face as I sat there, overwhelmed by the enormity of the situation. I felt trapped, like I was drowning in a sea of debt with no lifeline in sight. I had tried everything, but nothing seemed to work. I was exhausted, defeated. But in that moment of despair, something inside me shifted. I realized that I couldn't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. I had to change my approach, change my mindset if I was ever going to get out of this mess. With renewed determination, I set out on a new path, a path of financial discipline and self-control. I canceled my original credit card, cutting it up and throwing it in the trash. It was a symbolic gesture, but it felt like I was severing ties with my past mistakes. I created a strict budget, one that accounted for every penny I earned and spent. I set up automatic payments for my credit card, ensuring that I would never miss a payment or be tempted to spend the money elsewhere. I also set a goal to pay off the entire balance before the 0% APR period ended, no matter what it took. It wasn't easy. I had to make sacrifices, big ones. I stopped going out with friends, stopped buying new clothes, stopped doing anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. Every spare dollar went toward paying off my debt. I even took on a side gig, freelancing on the weekends to bring in extra income. But as hard as it was, something amazing started to happen. I began to feel in control of my finances, in control of my life. The anxiety that had plagued me for months started to fade, replaced by a sense of empowerment. Every payment I made brought me closer to freedom, and with each passing month, the balance on my credit card dwindled. The day I made the final payment on my credit card was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. I had done it. I was finally free from the crushing weight of credit card debt. I logged into my account, saw that beautiful zero balance, and felt a wave of relief and pride wash over me. But it wasn't just about paying off the debt. It was about the journey I had taken, the lessons I had learned along the way. I had learned the hard way about the dangers of credit cards, about the insidious trap of minimum payments and high interest rates. I had learned about the importance of budgeting, of living within my means, of being disciplined and responsible with my finances. I also learned something even more valuable about myself. I learned that I was stronger than I had ever imagined, that I could face my fears and overcome them. I learned that I had the power to take control of my life, to make better choices, to build a better future. Since paying off my debt, I've made it my mission to share my story with others. I know how easy it is to fall into the trap of credit card debt, and I know how hard it is to get out. I want to help others avoid the mistakes I made, to show them that there is a way out, that they can take control of their finances and their lives. I started writing a blog, sharing tips and advice on how to avoid credit card interest, how to create a budget, how to live within your means. I've received emails from people all over the world thanking me for sharing my story, telling me that I've inspired them to take control of their own finances. It's incredibly rewarding knowing that I've been able to help others through my own experiences. But perhaps the most important lesson I've learned is this: financial freedom isn't about having a lot of money. It's about having control over your money, about making conscious choices that align with your values and goals. It's about living a life free from the stress and anxiety of debt, about having the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're in control. Even though I've paid off my debt, my journey isn't over. Financial discipline is something I have to practice every day. I still use a credit card, but now I pay off the balance in full every month. I still budget meticulously, still live within my means, still save for emergencies and future goals. But now I do it with a sense of confidence and empowerment. I know that I have the tools and the knowledge to manage my finances responsibly, to avoid falling back into the trap of debt. I've built a solid foundation for my financial future, one that I'm proud of. Looking back, I'm grateful for the experience. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I felt like giving up, but I came out stronger on the other side. I learned lessons that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Lessons that have not only improved my financial situation, but have also helped me grow as a person. If I could offer one piece of advice to anyone struggling with credit card debt, it would be this: don't give up. It may feel overwhelming, but there is a way out. Take control, make a plan, and stick to it. Learn from your mistakes, but don't let them define you. You have the power to change your situation, to build a better future, to achieve financial freedom. And when you do, you'll realize that the journey was worth it. Because it's not just about the destination, but about the person you become along the way.